very little girl in our neighborhood, we had several local mom and pop stores. And each of them had a penny candy counter. Now, back when we were little, you didn't get a nickel very often. Sometimes you'd get lucky and you'd find a bottle that was returnable to the store, a soda bottle. And you might get 2 cents for it. You take it back to the store and you get 2 cents, and you could buy 2 cents worth of penny candy. It was fun. But once in a while, an uncle, maybe your grandfather, maybe your aunt would slip you a nickel. And oh, was that a lot of fun. You could get a lot of penny candy for a nickel. Some penny candies were 3 for a penny, some were 2 for a penny, and some were just a penny apiece. But depending on where you went, you could make that nickel go a long way. There was one store fairly close to our house, and you could go there. He had penny candy. But when you walked in the door, he knew what you were there for. And he would say, "How much money do you have?" And you'd tell him. And he'd throw that much money's worth of penny candy into a bag and hand it to you. Say, "There." It never got to choose. But a couple of blocks away was Joe Ball's store. And Joe Ball had a vast array of penny candy. Maybe he had the same, I don't know. He let me stand there for all the time it took, with however much money I had, to pick out whatever kind of candies I wanted. If another customer came in, he went and waited on them. It was okay, I wasn't going anywhere. And in the back of his store, he had coolers. They were all oak framed with glass fronts. Only you couldn't see the glass fronts because they were covered with pictures of all the kids in the neighborhood who over the years had come into his store and left their picture for him to put on their cooler, mine included. It was exciting to go and find your picture there. But eventually you got over to that beautiful candy counter. And you'd look at all the different things and had to take your time picking out, deciding exactly what you would get, what would be the best. Because maybe you weren't going to get another nickel for another 3 weeks. You wanted to make this one stretch and count. So you might pick out some malted balls because they were 3 for a penny. And some Mary Janes, they were 2 for a penny. Oh, and there was always those rock candy lollipops. And the buttons, the candy buttons on a strip of paper. They still sell those now. I've seen them, and you can get, I think it's 4 or 5 strips of them for $3.99. We got them for a penny. At any rate, Joe would never allow you to spend all your money. He too always asked you how much money you had. If you had a nickel, he would let you spend 4 cents. And when you picked out your candies, he would drop them in the bag. He would reach into the counter and he'd pick out the 3 malted balls and plop, plop, plop. And he'd say to you, "There's 5 cents. And then he'd reach in and he'd get your 2 Mary Janes and plop, plop into a little paper bag. And he'd say, "There's 4 cents. And then he would get you that strip of candy dots, or buttons as we call them. And he'd put that in and he'd say, "There's 3 cents. And then that rock candy lollipop. And that would just go thud, drop right down and make that real crackling noise that those little paper bags made. And he'd say, "There's 2 cents. And then he would put a penny in your hand and say, "And there's 1 cent. And there's your nickel." Now you have to remember, I was only like 4 years old when I started going there. You could go all over that. We won't go into how old I am. At any rate, I didn't understand what he meant. But he would never say anything. Just hand you that bag of candy and your penny, and there was your nickel. And I continued to go there. I don't know for how long. But one day, as he was counting backwards for me, the 5 cents, the 4 cents, the 3, I understood. And the dawn showed on my face. And I will never forget Joe Ball's laughter. He was a big man. Of course, to me, he could have been 5'2" for all I know, 4 years old. He looked pretty big. And he had a tonsure. Reminded me of my grandfather, who was only maybe 5'2", 5'4", but he was just a jolly, nice man. And he laughed as he realized that I finally got what he was trying to teach me. And over the years, I've wondered how many children he's taught this same lesson to. And I will never forget him. I will never forget his laughter. But mostly I will never forget the lessons he taught me. Patience was a big one. And counting backwards was the important one to him. Thank you.